Hello Gourd friends! Today I'm going to show you how I finished the rim of this gourd with pine needle coiling. I'm going to show you how I stacked multiple coils of the pine needles, how also I left open spaces and these neat little twists within the open spaces. If this is your first time here, welcome! I'm glad to have you here. My name is Jen and I am a gourd artist. Yes, I make art from gourds. And yes, technically, these are vegetables, and that is kind of weird, but they're kind of cool once you get to know them. So, are you ready to get gourding? Let's get started. Now, I used longleaf pine needles with their caps removed. I also soaked the pine needles for about an hour before use to make them really nice and pliable. I used some imitation waxed sinew for stitching the pine needles onto the gourd. And I also cut a small piece of drinking straw in order to use as a gauge. My gourd has an undulating cut for the top. I also drilled holes a 1/4 inch apart, and it's already been finished with a faux raku paint. If you like this faux raku look, then check out my other video on how to paint faux raku onto a gourd. I'll leave a link in the description below. I cut off about a double arm's length of my sinew, and I'm just looking at the available drinking straw pieces that I had cut as a gauge, and I am going to use this size right here. It's not too small and it's not too big. So next what I'm going to do is take some of these clusters of pine needles and insert them into my straw piece. And I just add them so that they're snug, not falling out, but not too tight, because you want this to be able to move freely. I also like to have them kind of staggered so that they're not all evenly, like I don't want them straight like this. I want them to be staggered so that when we do our second coil, it's going to lay nicely on this angle instead of having this abrupt step that it has to hop over. Okay, I am ready to tie on my pine needle bundle, and you can start pretty much anywhere you want to. I prefer to go on an uphill, so I'm going to start right here. I just find that that makes the next coil blend in a little bit better. So I'm going to pull this the whole way through and just leave a little tail so that you can tie on your bundle. So I'm just going to lay this on top and pull this out of the way and give it just a nice easy knot. I'm just using a regular overhand square knot. This knot is not going to be seen because when you do your second coil, it is going to lay right on top of it. So this is just to keep it secure, and I'm going to adjust my needles just a little bit because I want to make sure that they have that a little bit of a taper so that my next coil will lay on top of this like this. And then my next stitch is just going to be into the next hole. I like to work from the outside in, and I pull that through. And then I do the same thing into the next hole and every hole after that. I'm just going to go through this one time. You can do a different stitch if you want to go in twice. Then you will have a V-stitch at the bottom. And this little tail, as you see, I'm letting this just lay right on top and be part of that bundle as I work. And then that will be completely hidden and you don't have to worry about it later on. So I pull it taut firm but not too tight. And I just do this same stitch all the way around until I get back to the beginning stitch. So I'm going to work my way around, and then when I come back I will show you what I do for my second coil. And I also wanted to mention that as you're working your way around, you'll find that your straw is getting a little more freer, so that means your needles need to be replenished. And you can see I have quite a bit of space in there, so I'm just going to put a couple extra clusters in, and I like to put them into the center so that they are buried and you do not see the ends. So I'm just going to stick that in there, and you see how that's hidden. I'm just going to put one more in here. Make sure that's kind of in the center. Slide this down, and now I have another full bundle to work with. Now as you see, I'm getting to the end here. I only have a couple holes to go into, so I'm just going to start directing my coil over top of the previous one, and I'm going to try to tuck these under so that you don't see them very well. So as I do these in the last few stitches, I'm going to lay this on top and just kind of give these a little push back so that they blend in like that. And on this first one that we went into, that we tied the bundle, I'm just going to go right back into that same hole. And the reason for that is because no matter what you do when you tie the bundle on, your initial stitch is going to be going in the wrong direction. So I just go back into that just to add continuity. And in the next stitch, I am going to do what's called a split stitch. And the split stitch means that you just go right into the center of your previous stitch, splitting it in two. So let's get right in the center. And can you see where that split is? So I'm going to do that again on this next one. And I'm going to just move this out of the way, put my needle right through the center, and it's going through the previous coil, so you're going to go through the center of your pine needles as well. And see how that looks. So I'm going to keep working my way around for one more row using this same split stitch, and I will be running out of sinew soon, so I will be cutting some more sinew and attaching it, whoops, to this one. That was down a little too low. Kind of want to aim for the center of the coil and try not to pull it too tight. You want it just firm enough that it holds, not too tight that your needles bend or crack. So something else I wanted to show you is that you can split your sinew in half. Most of the time you can split it right in half. Sometimes you can split it even into thirds. As you can see, this one is naturally wanting to split a third time. So this makes for just a little bit of a thinner sinew. It makes it last, a roll last a really long time. And yeah, I mean, you don't have to use it as thick as it comes. You can split it, or you can leave it if you like the look of a thicker sinew. So this is how I add my new sinew. I leave quite a long tail on the end of mine. I pull the needle off, and then I'm just going to put the needle on the new sinew. And I'm just going to kind of wrap this around my finger here, make sure that it's kept taut. And I'm going to do my split stitch with the new sinew that I just put the needle on and pull that through. And I'm also going to leave a tail on that too. I'm just going to wrap that around my finger. Actually, I'm going to wrap it down here and hold it tight. So this hand is holding both the old sinew and if I can get a hold of it, and the new sinew, like so. And that's going to pull tight. And then I'm going to go into the next 2 stitches, holding that taut. I also need to add needles again, so running out of everything at this stage, that's when it gets a little bit awkward. But so now these next 2 stitches are nice and tight, so now I can go back and pay attention to these 2 over here. So I want to make sure that that's tight, and then this one I'm going to tie right on. And I'm going to direct this knot as far back as I can. And hopefully you can get a view. You probably won't be able to see that because I kind of have it tucked underneath. Let's see if I can get that in the viewfinder here. And it's a little dark too, so but it is tucked underneath, and so it is right here. I put a little light in there to see if you can see that easier, but it is tucked underneath. And as I work, I can just weave those or stitch those little tails from tying those pieces together later. So they can just hang there for now. And again, I'm just going to keep working this coil the whole way around, same way with the split stitch, adding pine needles as needed. And I will see you when I get back to the first stitch and show you what I'm going to be doing next. Okay, so what I did here is I continued my second row, and I actually worked past my starting point, and you can see this is my starting point because it has the V in the hole. And I worked up the hill to the crest of the hill, and now I'm coming down, and this is where I'm going to start my first open coil. So what I want to do is make a decision on how open I want it to be. I can have it be kind of down low like this, or I can have it a little bit up higher, and I'm going to opt for it to be a little bit up higher because I plan on twisting my next row around it. So I'm going to leave this be my last hole that I went into, and you want to make sure first of all that you have a good amount of needles in your coil when you're about ready to do this, and also a good amount of sinew or other thread that you might be using. If not, it's probably best that you plan ahead and just add an extra length if you need to. So what I'm going to do is just wrap this around and try to wrap it in a way that it is about the same distance apart as the rest of my coils. Now, an alternate way to do this, which also looks really, really nice, is to wrap it completely so that you do not see any pine needles. And that is called a closed coil, because you're completely enclosing the pine needles with your thread. But on this project, I am just going to do this with some space in between. It's a little bit easier for you to watch and follow along, and it doesn't take nearly as long. So for a first time trying this, I suggest just doing this way. And now what you want to do is just kind of gauge. I want this to be somewhat even, so we have from the center here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from where I went into my last coil. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the coil or the stitch I want to go into. So I'll just put that right in there like that. Pull it through, and here is my first open coil. And then what I'm going to do is just stitch around. I'm going to be adding some more sinew because I'm not going to have enough to do the next one. So I'm just kind of going to work up to the top of this little hill, and then I'm going to start my next one over here. So I'm just going to add some more sinew, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this little valley as well. Okay, so I just added a new length of sinew and some fresh clusters of pine needles, so I am ready to do this next space, and I'm just going to do the same thing. This one isn't cut as deeply on this side, so it's not going to be as large as a hole, but we will give it a go anyway. I'm just going to do the same thing, and these can be kind of moved with your fingers if you need to change the distance. Just make sure they're nice and tight in there. And we're going to go, let's see, to here. We're going to go to there. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with my last side. So I just reloaded my bundle, and I'm going to do the last side same way. Like there. Yep, we're going to go right in there. And then just a couple more stitches, and we're going to get ready to do the next part, where it's going to get very interesting. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to wrap this bundle. Now I need new pine needles, but I'm not going to add any more just yet. And the reason for this is the shorter bundle that I have to work with, the easier it's going to be, and I can add more as I as I work, and you'll see what I mean in a minute here. So I'm just going to wrap this. And I'm going to take my needle and my sinew, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in here. And I'm actually going to pull this off for the time being. And I'm going to use this sinew to pull my needle bundle under, like so. And I'm going to go around again. Whoop, that one popped out. Get that in there. Everybody's going for a ride. And then I'm going to take this again. I'm going to take my needle and my sinew, and we're going to go, we're going to go around this way. So we're going to take this around, and then this is going to pull it underneath. Try to find a space to get that in here, and this is why I soaked the needles, because these would otherwise be all breaking right now if I did not soak them. Okay, so here's my first twist, and as you see, I really need needles. So I'm going to add them on. So I had dropped my straw, so I just need to try to get that back on there. While I'm holding this, there we go. And I'm just going to stitch in here real quick, just to make sure that is all secure. Hold that tight, put in some more bundles. Okay, I have my next bundles in there. My straw is reloaded. So I'm just going to get a good tight stitch in there, and you can see my twist and then where I reattached it. And now that I have some really long needles on the next one, this next twist is going to be a little more difficult to do, but I'm up for the challenge. So now that I have my twists done, I'm going to go ahead and just do one more coil, maybe two more coils. We'll see how it looks all the way around, just to make it look a little bit more complete and finished. So this one, I'm just going to go and stitch into these coils. And then when I get to my twisted part, I am going to just give it one open coil like so. Actually, I'm going to do one more stitch right into this one here. That is the start of the twist, but it just needed another stitch in there. So I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to wrap it just like we did on the first one, and just do it straight across and attach it on the other side. Get my last one in here. See how that looks. and then that is what that will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around, and we'll see if that looks good or if it needs just one more finishing coil. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm still debating, but the next coil will be very, very simple to do. So here is how it looks so far. So I do think I am going to add one more row around the top, just to give it a little more of a finished look. And as I go in here, I'm just going to treat this like the coils that are attached. I'm just going to go right into it just like that. And hopefully I have enough sinew to make it to the end of this, because I don't really want to add any into this part. So wish me luck. And look at that. I have just enough sinew. Cutting it a little bit close there, but yeah, just enough for me to stitch it into the main coil and get a new piece attached. So now I'm getting to the end here. I have my two extra coils above my twists, and as you can see, I have a lot of extra needles on the end, and really I want to end this about here before it goes into the next open space. So what I'm going to do is just do my next few stitches, and I'm going to start guiding this sort of behind, and I'm going to start trimming some of these off gradually. I don't want to trim them off like in one fell swoop and have there just be an abrupt end to it. I want it to kind of diminish and it be hidden in here. So I'm going to put these stitches in, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off because this is no longer needed. I won't be adding any more of the needles. And I'm just going to take a look at this, if I can have it end somewhere around the middle here. So I'm just going to start snipping out some of these needles. So I'm going to snip a little closer and some a little longer, just so that they have a gradual end. And I'm cutting them on an angle as well. So then these will get kind of tucked under and worked in. And I'm not going to treat them as a separate coil at that point after I get past this little space here. So from here, what I'm going to do is tuck these behind, and I'm going to go into the same hole as the previous coil. So that this doesn't look like it's a new coil being started. It's just going to tuck in behind, worked into this one, and blend right in. Make sure that they don't go down too far. and stick out the bottom. See, I'll try to turn that and see if you can see that. Right in here. Not ideal to finish it in this place, but it is what it is. So what I'm going to do now is, because I don't really want to put a knot in here, I'm going to start threading my needle forward. So I'm just going to go in through behind there. And then I'm just going to keep doing that until I get to this area in here. So just thread it forward. And I just pull that down. Like this. You'll see how that's threaded through there. Until I get to a good place where I can put a knot. I'm not going to do it right here because I already have a knot from that previous sinew that I had attached. So I'm just going to kind of go past that once and do it in the next space, or on the next stitch, I mean. So let's see. And then what I'm going to do is just put my needle in, and I hope you can get a good view of this. This is where I think I need a little extra light. Hang on a second. So this is the spot where I am working into. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle. I was already through. I'm just going to go through that same spot again and pull that through. And as I pull it through, I'm going to put that through the, whoops, wrong way. I'm going to put that through that loop so that it creates a knot. Can you see the knot? Okay, so my other camera just ran out of battery, so I hope it captured how I did that knot. So I am going to go in one more time just so that it has a double knot, and that way if you did miss it, if I did miss capturing it with my other camera, at least you'll get to see how it's done, because this is just a repeat of what I already did previously. So this is where I am tying my knot into this stitch right here. So all I'm going to do is slide my needle and pull my thread through. And I'm just going to work that down a little bit. And then I'm going to take my needle and put it through this loop. Oh, let me do it like this so that you can see it better. And put it through this loop, like so. And that is going to create a nice little knot. Can you see that? So as I pull it through, pull it tight, and kind of guide it so that it's underneath. Now I do have a lot of mess of all these extra tails from when I was adding extra pieces of sinew. And what I'm going to do, and I'll just do this on this one here since it's right up top and easy to see, and this is what I'm going to do on all of these, is I'm just going to take them through the adjacent stitches. So I'll just rethread those tails onto the needle, pull them through the stitches that are next to them, like maybe the next 2 or 3. So they already have a knot in them, so that doesn't need to be knotted again. I'm just taking them through so that when I snip them, the snip it's not cut right next to the knot. I want it to be cut a little further away from it. That way there's no danger of that knot becoming undone. Snip that right close. And then I can just kind of push that up. And I'm going to do that the same thing with all these little tails that are hanging here. There's no way I'm going to be able to get a good video of that though, because these are really tucked under there. So, but it's going to be done exactly the same way as I just did that. Hello again, and thank you for watching this video on the twisty gourd coiling technique. I hope you enjoyed it and that maybe you will give it a try yourself. If you do, leave a comment below and let me know how it went. If you have any questions that maybe I missed in the video, go ahead and ask away. I will also leave some links in the description below if you're interested in more of my artwork or in learning more about gourd art itself. I do have some online classes that I give, and they are primarily on gourd pyrography, so that's burning onto the gourd, and that's mainly what I do. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and check out those links in the description below. Also, if you could do all the YouTube things like liking and subscribing and sharing with other people, that would really help me out for my channel, and it would also just help spread the gourd glow. I think gourd art is a really great art form for anyone who is interested in multiple techniques on one thing. There's just a lot of really cool things about gourds, and they're great for all levels of artists. Whether you are just a beginner who wants to dabble, you can really make some great stuff. And if you are a fine artist you want to maybe hone your skills in maybe some different areas, gourds are just great for that kind of thing. So I do want to share that as much as possible on this channel. So yeah, liking and subscribing and all the YouTube things, that does help me and my videos to be seen. So thank you again very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. So take care and happy gourding.